Welcome, everybody, to the Undroppables Uncovered Raiders Unrivaled. This is day 2 of the NFL Draft. We had a shocking development yesterday. To our surprise, not only did Brock Bowers fall, Napa High School legend, shout out NorCal, Brock Bowers, eater of my pizza, Brock Bowers, not only did he fall, but he fell all the way to the Raiders at 13, and the Raiders took him. They took the best player available. They took the best player on the board. How do you like that, Tyler?
I love that. If anyone has been watching this show and paying attention to this show, listening to what I have said repeatedly, Brock Bowers is the best player in this draft class, and it's not particularly close. I have said that a lot, and I still think it's true. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a generational player. Brock Bowers is a generational player. I don't know if there are any other generational players in this draft class. Uh, the Raiders, in their history and in my lifetime, have passed on a number of generational players. Calvin Johnson comes to mind. Adrian Peterson comes to mind. Larry Fitzgerald comes to mind. Sean Taylor comes to mind. Basically, anybody who was picked at one pick after or one pick before the Raiders made their selection turns out to be a Hall of Famer, like Aaron Rodgers, who was picked one pick after the Raiders picked a number of years ago. This is the first time I can recall since like 2003 that the Raiders picked the most BPA, the guy who was going to turn out to be the really, really amazing guy out of the group, the generational player. BPA is a philosophy that if you stick to it, you're going to make people mad because people don't understand how the draft works. All these mock draft guys, all these pundits, they always go need. Why did the team do this or that? They didn't need this player. Doesn't matter. Teams draft for scheme fit. They draft for who's got the most talent. They draft for who's going to be a culture fit in the locker room. They draft for tangibles. They draft for, we've got to have thresholds of you have to be this fast, this big, this strong. Your arms have to be this long. Need is like pretty far down on the list for what actual NFL teams are looking for. Is need like an important thing that teams consider? Sure. Teams know what they are lacking in as far as personnel, but is need like what they're looking for, like a mock drafter is? Like a mock drafter says, this team doesn't have a good left guard. Let's mock him a left guard in the first round. NFL teams don't work that way. NFL teams say, okay, what's our scheme? Who's gonna succeed in our scheme? They say, okay, who's big enough, strong enough, fast enough to play on this defense or this offense? Who's going to be explosive, get us points, get us stops, extend drives? That's what real NFL teams look for. That's what the Raiders are looking for with a competent front office like they have now. Tom Telesco in his career has not almost ever gone for need. He took Derwin James. They didn't really need a safety that bad. He took Keenan Allen. They didn't really need a wide receiver that bad. He goes for who's going to be an absolute baller, who's going to be the man. Brock Bowers is a baller. Brock Bowers is the man. Apparently, when he ate your pizza, you had sprinkled some magical tight end juice on that pizza, and he ate it. Now, he had one of the greatest careers, if not the greatest career in the history of collegiate tight ends. I have some stats here I would love to share with the class. These are from Scott Barrett at Scott Barrett FB.
Scott Barrett is a friend of the Undroppables. He just did a show with Wiz and Travis Seal the other day that I watched before I started doing all my draft prep yesterday. Scott Barrett is a sharp, and we love him.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go ahead and read this from a tweet that he put out quite recently. He says, as a runner, Brock Bowers totaled 19 carries for 193 yards for a 10.2 yards per carry and 5 touchdowns. He had more NCAA career rushing touchdowns than Vikings running back Kene Nwangwu, who went in round 4. He holds PFF college-era records in career for receiving grade 94.1, receiving yards 25.41, receiving touchdowns 26, receiving yards after contact 689, and receiving missed tackles forced 44. In fact, I'm pretty sure he averaged over 1 missed tackle forced per reception in his career. No one else comes close. Amongst all Power 5 tight ends, he also holds leads in career receiving yards per game, 53.5, and career touchdown adjusted yards per route run, 3.19, which is insane. Georgia quarterbacks had a near perfect 148.9 passer rating when targeting Brock Bowers. This ranks the best of any tight end, minimum 80 career targets since at least 2014, and second best of any receiver, minimum 140 targets, behind only Devontae Smith at 153.4. When targeting all other receivers, Georgia quarterbacks earned a passer rating of just 105.6. So clearly they had a lot more success throwing to Brock Bowers than any of their other five-star receivers that they had on the team, which is quite a few, including George Pickens. Since 2015, only 2 Power 5 tight ends have ever cleared 2.80 yards per route run in a single season, minimum 175 routes run. Kyle Pitts in 2020 at 3.26, and Brock Bowers in 2021, 3.01. Before his injury against Vanderbilt last year in 2023, Bowers was averaging 3.15 yards per route run, which is ridiculous. Would have been the second best all time. In 2021, Bowers converted 53% of his red zone targets into touchdowns. Couldn't the Raiders use that? The Justin Jefferson's 2019 season is the only Power 5 season since 2014 to rank higher than that. By downs per route run, or first downs per route run, Bowers 2021 at 0.126 and 2023 season 0.125, both ranked top 6 among all Power 5 tight end seasons since 2014. The only other seasons within that top 6, Kyle Pitts in 2020, Dalton Kincaid in 2022, Charlie Kolar in 2020, and Mark Andrews in 2017. Brock Bowers averaged 12.4 YPT in 2021, the most of any Power 5 tight end, minimum 60 targets since at least 2015. His 2022 season ranks 4th best behind seasons from Kyle Pitts and TJ Hawkinson. Jermaine Burton is the only wide receiver from this year's class to post a better yards per target average, 12.1, than Bowers, 11.3. So that's 11.3 yards per target is what I'm reading here, which is nuts. Keep in mind, Burton's average depth of target was more than twice as high, 16.8 versus 8.1. On non-screen targets for all players, Bowers leads all positions in career yards per target average at 13.0. One of my all-time favorite stats, he says, yards per target over expectations. Bowers easily leads all receivers in this class and all tight ends on record, ahead of the previous record holder, Dalton Kincaid. If we exclude Jalen Samuels, who was drafted as a running back, Bowers' 3 seasons ranked 1st, 2nd, and 4th in yards after the catch since 2014, with David Njoku's 2016 season ranking 3rd. And if I recall from another stat that I saw, I believe 42% of Brock Bowers' yards in total came after the catch. So this guy is a yards after catch monster.
He's a yak god.
He's a yak god. This guy is arguably the greatest tight end prospect in the draft we have ever seen. Vernon Davis was good. Mark Andrews was good. David Njoku was good. George Kittle was good. This guy's better than all of them. This guy is arguably the greatest tight end we have ever. This is the Andrew Luck and John Elway of tight end prospects. This guy is the absolute freaking man. The Raiders got him, and we should be thankful and happy about that.
So one of the drawbacks to Brock Bowers is the fact that he's listed as a tight end. I've talked many, many times about how there's an evolution at the position, and they shouldn't be considered inline tight ends, and big slots should be considered differently. There should be another position class: big slot receiver, wide receiver, big slot receiver, tight end. They're all different. It's ever changing, ever evolving. And Brock Bowers is probably going to wind up at the end of his career being the poster child for that. Shout out to Scotty Barrett, bringing the fire, and there's more. There's more. So when we are looking at Brock Bowers, first of all, there's tape out there of him absolutely pancaking defensive tackles. The kid can block. It's not that he's an inline tight end or isn't an inline tight end or can't do it. He's fantastic in the run game, but he is next level as a receiver. So in considering him and comparing him to this wide receiver class, and shout out to the UN score that we will be talking about forever and ever, Jax, Wiz, FF Coder, and Chalk. Marvin Harrison Jr., clear number 1 in the class as a wide receiver. Malik Neighbors is right up there. Romo Dunze, they're 1A, B, and C. You got other guys like Brian Thomas Jr., who has first-round draft capital going to the Jaguars, etc. Now, we look at those at Brock Bowers compared to those wide receivers. In 2023, he led all of them in yak per reception. He led. He was fourth in first downs per route run, and second in missed tackles forced percentage. For his career, he has the highest receiving grade of all of them, 89.6. He has the highest yak per reception at 8.5. He has the third highest yards per route run, the highest catch percentage, the second highest missed tackles forced, and he's third of all of them in first downs per route run. So basically what you're doing is you're getting a top 3 receiver. You're getting another Malik Neighbors, another Marvin Harrison Jr., another Romo Dunze in the body of Brock Bowers, with the size of Brock Bowers, with the blocking ability in the run game of Brock Bowers. That is an absolute steal. And Tom Telesco, gold medal, A++. The superlatives can't stop with this pick. It's generational. It's otherworldly. It's elite.
If you want to,
I'm over the moon about it.
If you want to comp for Brock Bowers, a lot of people are giving you George Kittle. But what the actual comp for Brock Bowers is if Christian McCaffrey were the size of Travis Kelce. If Darren Waller had a heart and didn't go down every time someone looked at him funny.
Shade.
This guy, he's an inch shorter than Travis Kelce. He's 10 pounds lighter than Travis Kelce. But he has better hands than Travis Kelce. He gets open the way Travis Kelce does. Because you always watch a Chiefs game and you watch Travis Kelce and you're like, how the hell did he get open like that? Because he's making catches and there's nobody within 7 yards of him. And when you game plan for the Chiefs, the first thing you think of is, how do we stop Travis Kelce? Because he's their best offensive weapon outside of Mahomes himself. But no one can. No one has, and no one does. And why is that? Because Travis Kelce is incredibly adept at getting open when he shouldn't be. And Brock Bowers is the exact
nobody can stop Brock Bowers in college either.
And even when Brock Bowers is covered, there was a play against Alabama when he was triple covered and Carson Beck threw it at him and he caught it anyway. It doesn't matter if you cover Brock Bowers. He will catch it in your face and laugh at you. This guy is ridiculous. He's going to be an amazing player for the Raiders. Luke Getsy in Chicago ran a ton of 2 tight end sets, did it all the time, and that's exactly what he's going to bring to the Raiders. They're going to run 2 tight end sets all over the league, and Brock Bowers is going to be a Pro Bowler. It's going to be fantastic. I want to bring us back to the Raiders' history. In 1979, the Raiders had Dave Casper and Raymond Chester on the same team. Both men made the Pro Bowl. They had, I think, 30% of the Raiders' touchdowns that year and about 50% of their rushing yards. That team also had Cliff Branch on it. So for them to pile up that many stats and have that much success in a league which didn't pass very much is unheard of. The Raiders are not strangers to having 2 all-pro level tight ends on the same team. They can do it. Now, I want to point out something here. A lot of people said, well, why did we take a tight end? We already have Michael Mayer on our team. And I go back to that time when the Raiders could have drafted Rob Gronkowski, and they didn't because they had Zach Miller on the team already. And why double up on tight end? Well, do you really want to pass on an all-pro talent, a Hall of Fame level talent like Rob Gronkowski, just because you have Zach Miller on your team? Don't let good be the enemy of great. Listen, if you want to run over this league and if you want to dominate this league, you do what the good teams do. You let good players fall to you and you take them. You don't second guess yourself. There's no rule that says we can only start 1 tight end. We can only play 1 guy in this position. Listen, in 1998, the Vikings already had Chris Carter. Do you know who they drafted in 1998? Randy freaking Moss. And they went on to dominate the league. They didn't make the Super Bowl or anything, but they came pretty close and just got unlucky. The good teams don't let who they already have on their team dictate the great players that they should take. The Raiders have passed up on generational players way too often, and I'm glad this front office finally had some fucking balls and took one that's absolutely generational. This is the start of a Raiders dynasty. This is the kind of guy that good teams take and they destroy people with them. This is
Yeah.
exactly what good teams should do. And to see the Raiders finally do it in my lifetime is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And to your point about Luke Getsy made Cole Kmet a top 10 tight end in fantasy football in PPR scoring 2 seasons in a row with a shit ass quarterback that isn't good at throwing the ball. We have a good ass quarterback that can throw the ball. Aiden O'Connell is totally fine. I'm still totally on board with grabbing Jordan Travis as he slips down the board and having him carry a clipboard for a while, especially with Minshew in place. Let's groom that kid up, get him over his injury. Highest PFF scored quarterback in all of college football in 2022. So we're gonna be okay. Brock Bowers is gonna be an absolute problem for the AFC West. So watch out, Patrick Surtain, because you're not getting your hands on that kid. We got the Buffalo Bills on the board at pick 33 to get round 2 launched, and the pick is in. There was some controversy yesterday with the Bills trading back and allowing the Chiefs to take Xavier Worthy, who I'm not worried about at all. But
well, the Bills have a history, as we know, shooting themselves in the foot. This is nothing new for the Bills. Whenever the pressure gets high, they like to choke. They've never had any sustained success on the field or in the draft. The Bills, they're just one of those snake-bitten franchises that can't get out of their own way. And when faced with adversity or a real villain like the Chiefs are, they roll over and die. The Raiders, at the very least, don't do that.
Yeah. Looks like it's Keon Coleman to the Bills. That's a pretty good fucking pick.
That's a good. That's a replacement for Stephon Diggs. I like that pick a lot. Keon Coleman is a baller.
Yeah, that's gonna do good things for Josh Allen, and that's unfortunate because the road to the AFC Championship goes through Buffalo, Miami, and Kansas City, kind of in a zigzag pattern, and we got some action in the comments. Get Shrek, brah. Piping in. Mayer and Bowers is a cheat code, absolutely. And 100%. Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs botched their round 1 picks.
I mean, the Chiefs may have botched their first round pick. I mean, we can talk about Xavier Worthy's hands and how unreliable they are, but we have to remember that we're cherry picking some stats here. When Xavier Worthy had a broken hand, and that really did hurt his ability to catch the ball. Normal Xavier Worthy is fairly reliable. I just question the Chiefs' strategy when they employ the greatest quarterback in the world and they consistently employ wide receivers who are unreliable and have poor hands. I mean, how hard is it to draft a guy with who can actually catch the ball? You'd think Andy Reid would, with his time with the Eagles, with how unreliable his receivers were then, would have gotten the clue. Or maybe this is just a pattern for him. Maybe that's where he allocates his resources, just to, speed and, hey, maybe we'll get it this time. Because the receivers on the Eagles, like Freddie Mitchell was great. No, they ran that offense through Brian Westbrook.
Right.
And the Chiefs right now can and should run their offense through Isaiah Pacheco. Will they? Probably not, because they're stubborn. And they also have Travis Kelce, who has some of the best hands of any tight end I've ever seen, outside of Brock Bowers himself.
Outside of Brock.
I just think the Chiefs, the scary thing about the Chiefs is that they could be so much better than they are right now. So much better if they had a different core receivers and didn't employ people like Kadarius Toney who can't catch.
Right. Now, working off that Keon Coleman pick, according to Matt Harmon over at the Reception Perception, very, very cool prospecting website if you guys are down. Keon Coleman is a comp to Quentin Johnston, so I guess I'm not really as high on him as I thought. And our guy Debro FFB, Buffalo will regret going with Keon Coleman over Ladd McConkey. I agree. I think Ladd McConkey is the Brock Bowers of wide receivers in this draft. I like him as a value. He is super super good, and his metrics are off the charts. And I can't wait to see what he does in the NFL. I think he's unless we take him as a wide receiver, he's not going to be a Raider. He's not going to be a Raider.
Well, let's take Lad McConkey for a second. Pretend he doesn't exist, and put Keon Coleman on that Georgia Bulldogs team. Does Keon Coleman have better numbers than Lad McConkey did?
That's a good question. They're different types of receivers. Lad McConkey's he's like a QB's friend. The guy he is a zone defense destroyer. I think Keon Coleman is more of a straight up X receiver, outside lineup guy. Lad works from the slot, and I think Lad is closer to if Christian McCaffrey was a wide receiver comp, but there's also Luke McCaffrey who's out there and more athletic than his brother. So we'll see what happens with that.
So then it's a scheme fit issue. It's what kind of receiver do you need? It's not an either or, because honestly, if you're an NFL team and you had, Keon Johnson or Keon Coleman, and Lad McConkey, you'd be just fine. There wouldn't be an overlap in skill set.
Right. It's kind of what makes Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Malik Neighbors the class of the class, is that you can do lots of things with all three of them, and they can be your one. Get Shrek is chiming in. He loves reception perception. So do I. He's down on Coleman in fantasy, and he says Coleman gets no separation. So just like QJ. So he's going to be a contested catch guy. But I mean, Josh Allen has a big cannon of an arm. So it's not out of the question that he turns into the next Gabe Davis and just like Xavier Worthy, run down the field as fast as you can, and we're going to chuck it to you. But those guys, especially in fantasy football, they turn into Alec Pierce and Henry Ruggs, and they're not your 140 target a year guys. But I think Lad McConkey is 2021 Hunter Renfrow. Mm-hmm. But he's going to do it every year, not just the one. I just hope he stays in the NFC.
Lad McConkey has a good chance of being a top 10 wide receiver of all wide receiver of all time. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, he has a chance to be the best wide receiver.
I do. Well, that's a tough order, because we got, who's your top 5 wide receivers of all time? Because I can give you a top 5 right now.
I can't really think of Rich Martini. That's shout out to last night. I can't really think of a whole lot. They're kind of Fred Biletnikoff.
He's on my list.
Geez, I can think of Fred Biletnikoff and Hunter Renfrow at the moment. Steve Largent.
He's on my list as well.
Chris Collinsworth.
Okay, he's not on my list, but he's a good choice.
Don B. Oh, and the Chargers took McConkey. Ah!
Oh God. Okay. Well, we got to guard somebody. My list of all-time wide receivers is number 1, Don Hutson, number 2, Fred Biletnikoff, number 3, Lance Allworth, number 4, Steve Largent, and number 5, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. At
a certain point, from 38 to 48, people forget how dominant he was. Before Don Hutson came around, the wide receiver position did not exist. He invented it. He made this stuff up. The only reason Lad McConkey got drafted right now is because Don Hutson played in the NFL. He is totally underappreciated and underrated.
What's going to be fun is when the Chargers play whoever drafts Cooper DeJean. I don't know. Okay, so Lad McConkey to the Chargers is going to be like my demise. I'm so mad. I'm so mad right now.
Well, for fantasy purposes, he has Herbert throwing to him, so that's a good thing if you have your little rookie fantasy draft.
God. And I had just gotten done saying that I hope he stays out of the AFC.
Well, all of our favorite players go to our division. Don't you know that?
Yeah.
Certainly happened to me.
Tale as old as time.
My favorite receiver remaining on the board, it should be to surprise of no one, is Troy Franklin. I watched that guy play for 3 solid seasons at Oregon. Dude is an absolute menace. He's
He
big,
is.
he's fast, he's strong. He's good at the catch point. He can actually get separation like some of these guys, and he'll be a steal whenever he's taken now because I'm sure he'll go in the second.
I mean, I have him up there as like the 5th wide receiver off the board, and we're already 5 wide receivers, already well
Oh
past
yeah,
5 wide receivers. So I'm kind of shocked by that. Um, Arizona's up next with pick 35. I just want to shut it down at this point. I don't even.
do you think Cooper DeJean goes here to Arizona? I know the Cardinals fans took a shunning to this guy.
I think everybody should. I mean, if you like Jason Sehorn, you're gonna love. So, top 5 white cornerbacks of all time. Go.
Seahorn is the only one I know of,
Right? It's
besides
hard.
DeJean himself. You have to go back to the early '60s to find a good sample size of white cornerbacks. I mean, you don't see that anymore.
Apparently, Arizona traded back, and the Falcons now have the
The
35th
Falcons,
pick.
yet another opportunity to make asses of themselves on national television.
Yeah, they should. What they should do is draft Bucky Irving right now. Sorry, I had to take a shot at
You know, hey, at least Bucky Irving will get carries because the Falcons are allergic to giving it to Bijan Robinson.
That's true. That's true. Um, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. I didn't 5 years of that's 10 games we have to play against Lad McConkey.
It is, but you know as well as I do, the Chargers are choke artists, and he won't be as good as you think he's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be good. They'll
Yeah,
they won't win
you'll
anything.
have good individual performances, and you'll have zero team success. Although I'm
Right.
sure Hunt will get it together one of these days, before he gets his ass run out of town for being a jerk.
It'll be like my guy Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
Go Bears.
should have been
And
a Raider.
I mean that in the Cal Bears sense.
Oh yeah,
But
a competent front office would have drafted that guy.
that Chicago Bears offense is they're about to ruin some people's lives in Green Bay and Detroit and Minnesota. I think Rome Odunze is going to immediately become the number 1 wide receiver on that team.
Yeah, I mean they have a couple of really good veterans in Chicago, but I don't think either one of them are as talented as Odunze is.
No.
I mean, DJ Moore is good, Keenan Allen is good, but neither one of them are getting any younger. And Odunze is
Right.
he's special.
He's more talented than those two. Like he just doesn't have the history. He doesn't have the experience in the NFL yet, but he'll take over before the season's over. If we come back,
targeting here, what position do you think they take in the second?
the Falcons.
Raiders.
Oh, the Raiders. Sorry. That's a great question. I want to say cornerback, but through our mock drafts, like there are some good interior defensive linemen that are going to be available right here. We can wait on offensive line, although we do need to pick up an offensive lineman or two. I mean, I don't know. As long as it's not Spencer Rattler, I think our draft is going to, at this point, just purely based on the Brock Bowers pick, our draft is an A+ win already.
Oh yeah.
As long as we don't take Spencer Rattler.
Now I watched the Senior Bowl. Rattler was very, very good. He acquitted himself quite nicely.
He was an absolute garbage pile during the Senior Bowl practicing, and absolutely tanked any value that he had. Plus, he's, I mean, to his credit, he started out as a complete diva and was humbled. So
Yeah.
that could go a long way. And he is the type of quarterback that if you take him in the third or the fourth round, and let him learn for a while, he could enter the, become a starter in 3 or 4 years and be good. But
Yeah.
he doesn't have a good arm at all. He cannot throw the ball deep. He's not very accurate.
So
Most
he's
of
the
his
anti
profile,
Justin Herbert then.
yeah, he like I would put him in the same class as Justin Fields, which they were both featured on that show QB1, or not QB1, whatever that show was that tracked him in high school. It had Justin Fields, Spencer Rattler, Jake Fromm, um, and none of them have really panned out as NFL quarterbacks at this point. The ones that have made it to the NFL, Justin Fields is probably the one with the most reps, and Spencer Rattler wasn't even like the best on that show. Obviously, he goes to Oklahoma, and Caleb Williams overshadowed him. But
Well, I got two thoughts about that. Number one, a Raiders jersey with the word Rattler on the back would be about the coolest thing to wear of all time. Secondly, I think if you drafted Spencer Rattler, you could do with him what the Falcons plan to do with Michael Penix Jr. and are going to fail at it. You can sit him until he's ready because the Raiders have two competent quarterbacks on the roster right now. You
right,
could sit him for a couple of years until he's the guy. You're not going to be able to teach him arm strength though. You can have him, bulk up and work out, but some guys have a zip on their fastball that is God given and isn't worked into you. So if that's what you value, then you're better off waiting for someone. I dare say Joe Milton. I think Jordan Travis is a pretty good deep ball. I've certainly seen him chuck it. It just depends on what you value. Do you value short accuracy and ability to move around the pocket? Because Spencer Rattler certainly has that. Or do you value the ability to fuck it, I'm going deep? Rex Grossman. It depends on what you
right.
want.
Yeah, I mean, he does use his feet a lot. But I still, I don't know. I'm not a fan.
I'm not a big Rattler guy either. It's just I don't see how you can make a deep playoff run with the quarterbacks the Raiders have now. And I like Aiden O'Connell a lot. I think he's a good young player. I just think he has a ceiling that is below what you need when the AFC 13 teams have really good franchise young quarterbacks, and the Raiders are one of the very few that don't. You need somebody on that level. First round pick level, it's the CJ Stroud, the Trevor Lawrences of the world. For the coming decade, with what I see coming on the horizon for the AFC, you're going to need somebody, because how do you beat an elite quarterback? With another elite quarterback. Do the Raiders have one? No, they don't. And they need to get one.
Unless you do it with an incredible defense. So this is the next Raiders jersey I'm going to get.
Oh, that is nice. That
Number
is
89, UC Davis legend Rich Martini. Because a Raiders jersey with the word Martini on the back fits my oeuvre.
Well, I can see that.
Friends of the show will might remember better than me me drinking martinis last night.
Better than Chargers legend Bland Martini.
Is that a thing? And we got the Commanders on the board, or on pick is in. They're at pick 36.
Wait, what happened to the Cardinals?
I don't know.
Who did they take?
Oh, the Cardinals traded out of it.
Okay.
With the Falcons, and I missed who the Falcons took.
No, that's right. The Cardinals traded. The Falcons took somebody. Who on earth did the Falcons take?
Or as my partner in crime, Mike Greinberg, says, the Falcons.
Oh, okay. Well, I know who the Commanders are taking. Okay, so the Falcons took Clemson defensive tackle Rook Ororororororo, and the Commanders are taking Jerson Newton from Illinois, defensive tackle. So that's two
Mm,
D tackles in a row.
I'm surprised Newton fell that far.
I am too, but I think he had some issues out of the combine. I think he because I saw him mocked in the top 10 back in February, and as things went along, he got lower and lower and lower and lower, and he hadn't played a snap, so something went down.
Huh. Yeah. I got a text. I don't know what this means. Raiders trade the fuck up for Newton. What do these teams know that we don't? He must be hurt. What?
I think he is in the same way that Cooper DeJean is because he's fallen so far for no reason other than that.
I just don't know what I don't know what that means. What the Raiders traded?
No, the Raiders absolutely did not trade. Maybe they mean they should have traded for that. And what are they doing? They should have made that move. That's the only thing I could think of. The Patriots have taken Jalen Polk from Washington, the wide receiver.
Yeah, which is a total reach and stupid. And they should have taken Jalen McMillan. My Demario Douglas shares are safe.
Well, Drake May has to have somebody to throw to because right now he has nobody. I think if you like Drake May, then Jalen Polk should be a guy that you target in a draft because he's going to get a lot of targets.
I don't like Drake May though.
Well, if you do, because we both know a lot of people who don't. But if you're a Drake May guy, that's the direction I think you should go.
I thought you were channeling Scooby Doo, but you're right. Rook like that old commercial.
Raggy.
Rook or Damn.
Ororo.
That reminds me of the SNL skit with Will Forte when he's at the spelling bee and he's spelling business and he gets Q, Q, Q. He just gets his brain gets stuck on Q. It's the funniest I've ever laughed at Saturday Night Live, and I've watched every Saturday Night Live episode for it's about to be 50 years, and that is the funniest moment.
Man, I'll tell you, I watched a lot of Saturday Night Live from the '70s. That Dan Aykroyd as Julia Child one kills me to this day.
Yes.
Save those livers. We have a natural coagulant like chicken liver.
There's some classic Dan
Cut
Aykroyd
the chickens
stuff.
out of my finger.
Aykroyd's Chicago accent is what makes it. I like Bag of Glass.
Man, last week's with the Beavis and Butthead sketch is absolute peak comedy writing. I mean, you don't.
It was fantastic.
These days, you don't get better than that. I'm a Beavis and Butthead fan from back in the day, so that absolutely tickled me.
Yeah, I had a friend of the show, Billy Wayne Davis, on who opened. He was a comedy act opening for country legend. God damn it, I forgot his. I hate it when my brain does this. God damn it. Sturgill Simpson. It came to my head. I didn't have to look it up. But Billy Wayne Davis opened up for Sturgill Simpson. Sturgill Simpson, good friends with Mike Judge. That's stupid. I don't even know why I talked
Speaking
about
of
that.
Mike Judge, is Idiocracy not one of the greatest movies ever made? And
Absolutely.
an absolute prophecy.
Absolutely. All right. The Cardinals with their trade back have 5 picks today.
5 picks today?
Yeah, second round, 43, 4 third rounders.
Holy Toledo.
Yeah, and that's with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Darius Robinson already in the building. Darius Robinson, I wrote him up today for over at Player Profiler. Not impressed with that pick. I thought the Dallas, um, what's his name, the edge rusher from Alabama that Minnesota got. I thought that was
Dallas
incredible,
Turner.
Dallas Turner.
Yeah.
But Arizona taking, I thought since they traded to get the pick, and then they took him, and he's totally overrated. He's not athletic enough to play edge, but he's listed as an edge. He is going to be a matchup problem as a 3 tech. He's going to line up against guards and present issues for them. But um, I would have gone somewhere else with interior defense. But that's just me.
I'm wary of edge rushers from Missouri, the Shane Rays of the world. I don't trust anybody out of the University of Missouri, frankly.
We got some Mizzou love here at the Undroppables, but I don't share it.
I just don't like Missouri in general. Kansas City is there. St. Louis is there. I think Missouri, frankly, should just be wiped off the face of the earth entirely.
Devondre Sweat to the Titans.
Okay. Well, he's their problem now.
Sorry, Tivondre.
With all the good food in Tennessee, that guy is not going to get any smaller anytime soon. I'll tell you that. Nashville is a restaurant town. I've got a family that lives pretty close to that. Whenever I go visit, I gain probably 20 pounds. It's no joke.
I'm going to Tennessee in August, and I'm fat.
You're going to have a great time because there's nothing to do in Tennessee but shop and eat.
I've been to Nashville once. We went for the NCAA first round games when Arkansas was playing. My buddy and I got off work at 11 o'clock at night. 11:30, we were on the interstate headed to Nashville. Drove straight through, 9-hour drive, hit Nashville at like 8 a.m, went to McDonald's, and then it was St. Patrick's Day, so we went to an Irish pub called Shawnee that when the last time they did the NFL draft, and it was all the fans were like packed on the street, and you could see like the businesses and stuff. That was that area, that neighborhood that Shawnee was in. And so we got there about 10 a.m, started drinking. Then the game started, and we went in and watched the 4 basketball games throughout the day. Once the games were over, we got back in the car and drove back to Arkansas. Another 9 hours.
Let me ask you this. You ended up in Nashville at 8 a.m. and made the conscious choice to not go to Waffle House for reasons?
I think it was as we were pulling in, we saw McDonald's and just drove. Like it wasn't like a processed plan. And having lived in Arkansas, or living in Arkansas at the time, Waffle House wasn't as special. It was more of a
me as a West Coast kid like yourself, Waffle House is a pilgrimage of sorts.
Yes,
it's so delightfully scummy. It has a charm to it that cannot be replicated by any restaurant we have regular access to.
Right. At the time, before I moved to Arkansas, I had never heard of Waffle House. When I was living in Arkansas, we had a Waffle House in town, and we went to it occasionally. It was good. I am a hash brown fan, and I had never even considered putting chili and cheese on a hash browns, along with your pecan waffles and like eggs with American cheese. Like it was an eye-opening experience going to Waffle House for the first time, and I loved it. But while I was there, it was one of those things where like you don't do touristy things when you live there. Like people that lived in Seattle for 40 years and never went to the Space Needle, that kind of thing. We did go to Waffle House, but it wasn't a huge thing. Since I moved away from Arkansas, now when I am in the South, Waffle House is absolutely a destination.
Has to be. There's nothing like it. I mean, it's a distinctive piece of Americana that you're just not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah. So Tivondre Sweat is going to be this pick to the Titans. There is a run on defensive tackles um, which means Braden Fisk
The Rams
might
have traded up, it says.
might might not last to us.
Who are the Rams?
Ra-
I know the Rams were trying to trade up yesterday for Brock Bowers. Basically, all the trade up calls ended as soon as Bowers was taken from a variety of teams who were trying to get that market inefficiency of tight end in the quarterback draft. So you got to admire the Raiders for sticking to their board even when they had a bunch of glaring needs elsewhere. Because the board is the board, man, and you're just not going to find that many generational players in any draft.
And that's our lesson that we're learning, that we knew, but now the Raiders are finally following it. Draft the best player available, regardless of need.
Yeah, everybody wants BPA until their team does it, and then they get chicken shit about it. It makes me scratch my head. You either are BPA or you're not. I am.
Don't get chicken shit about it. And I think that's why I have Raiders traumatic stress disorder so bad, because of the fact that so many years I've wanted best player available or knew the BPA, and the Raiders did not take him.
Well, the Raiders have taken the WPA in a lot of situations.
Yeah, don't draft for need. The fact that we not only did we not get Jalen Carter last year, but Dave Ziegler got out of that first round without CJ Stroud or Jalen Carter is just like shocking. It's shocking.
I like Dave Ziegler a lot more than I like Josh McDaniels, and I wonder how effective Ziegler would have been on his own with a competent head coach and been able to do the draft like he wanted to. I think Dave Ziegler is a good GM. I hope he gets a shot somewhere else fairly soon because I like that guy. I think he deserves to have a job. I think Josh McDaniels should take a long walk up a short pier. He doesn't deserve jack shit. Dave Ziegler, though, is a pro's pro, and I like that guy.
Yeah, he unfortunately his reputation was tarnished by the fact that Josh McDaniels was his head coach.
You know, I will say this. The wonderful thing about betrayal is that it can never come from your enemies.
I thought you were going to say the wonderful thing about betrayal is a wonderful thing.
I'm saying betrayal can only come from your friends. And Dave Ziegler hitched his wagon to Josh McDaniels. And that's what we call career suicide, sir. So you choose your friends very carefully.
I'm going to stop talking about players. Because when I say I don't want a player to go to a certain place, they go to that place. When I say that I want a certain player, that player gets taken. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore.
Braden Fisk to the Rams. I saw who was taken. Now we have mocked Braden Fisk to the Raiders on a number of occasions. The really good thing is that we mocked that usually before free agency. And the Raiders have arguably a top 3 defensive tackle on their team right now. So Braden Fisk is a bit less of a priority than he would have been 7 weeks ago.
A top 3 defensive tackle and Christian Wilkins.
Yes, and Christian Wilkins. The Rams, however, had gaping holes on the defensive line. This was absolutely the move they should have made.
They were gaping.
Yeah, and their front office has been hamstrung by themselves for far too long, having mortgaged their future for that one Super Bowl that no one showed up to the parade for. And they haven't had a first-round pick in years. It seems like decades, but it hasn't been. I mean, it's probably been about 5-6 years. But this year, would they take Jared Verse yesterday? Is that who they took in the first round?
Yep.
Yeah, and to take Braden Fisk now, that's going to go a long way in the NFC West because there's some mighty fine offensive lines and running games in that division.
If we get into the
Cooper
end of
still on the board, by the way.
What's that?
Cooper DeJean's still on the board.
Oh yeah. If we get to the springtime of 2022, 34 and Braden Fisk announces his retirement and he's written up in a glowing light similar to Aaron Donald, I will not be surprised.
Neither will I. I hope he's more of an Eddie Vander does than an Aaron Donald, but we shall see.
Derek Wolfe is the comp, 6'3", 5'8", 292.
Derek Wolfe is not a great. He didn't have the motor that Braden Fisk has. Braden Fisk is unblockable.
Yeah, I'm glad he's in the AFC West or NFC West because Braden Fisk is going to be a problem.
I would not want Andre James to have to block him. That's what I'll say. However, I believe we do play the Rams this year. Is that right?
Oh.
So he'll have to anyway. Just once every 4 years instead of twice every year.
Yeah, not like 10 games against Lad McConkey in the next 5 years.
Now, I have an interesting thought here. Since we know Tom Telesco likes to stick to his board, what do you think the odds are here that we get something insane like, say, Jackson Powers Johnson, if he lasts to wherever the Raiders happen to be?
That's we'll see. But if we're taking BPA, I think there are going to be BPs available.
Because there's only so many guys left with a first-round grade, and I would be shocked if most teams didn't have a first-round grade on Jackson Powers Johnson. Not that they would have taken him, because every team has their own board and their own needs and their own priorities. But he's got to be one of those guys that's very highly valued by. I would be shocked if Telesco didn't very highly value Jackson Powers Johnson as a prospect. And I don't think he would be. I don't think he would be chicken shit enough to not take him if he was the top guy on their board when their pick came around.
Cooper DeJean goes to Philly.
Ooh. Okay, it makes sense.
Is it DeJean or DeJean?
I purposely did not watch enough Iowa football to know the answer to that question.
Purposely. But what about Luke? You didn't watch tight end Luke Lachey? Oh, wait, he got hurt.
I could spend my Saturdays watching Iowa football or beating myself in the head with a rock. And Sundays I would have chosen to beat myself in the head with a rock because it would have been more pleasant.
So you're not an Iowa grinder fan?
The only Iowa game I actually watched was El Assico, Iowa versus Iowa State. And even that, it was like 3-0. And I was like, I can't do this to myself. I watch football for fun. This isn't fun. At some point you have to look at yourself and be like, why am I here? Am I this much of a sicko? Because I will get up at 4 a.m. to watch World Cup soccer in Germany. I hate soccer. I don't like it, but it's on. I'm a sick man. Help me. But even I won't watch Iowa football.
I like soccer. I like football better, but I also would rather watch soccer than Iowa football. And I like Iowa. I'm ancestrally from Iowa. But Rocco Becht, son of former NFL great Anthony Becht, quarterback at Iowa State, that's where my heart lies right now. Everybody who plays Devy, go out and get Rocco Becht as soon as you can. Rocco Becht.
The Saints have traded up to 41, and they are on the clock.
Yes, sir.
So what? It's like 3 picks until the Raiders go? Is that right? They 44?
Yeah, unless we trade up.
I wonder what it would cost to trade up like 2 picks now. Probably not much.
Interesting tweet by Janiel Jeremiah. What is wrong with my fucking brain?
Jeremiah, NFL.com legend.
Daniel Jeremiah. He thought there were 8 offensive tackles in this draft capable of starting in week 1. All 8 are gone entering this round. The success of this next group will be determined by the quality of the development plan / coaching to get them ready to play. Yeah. Wither Tom Cable.
I don't disagree with that. My favorite prospect on the in the tackle position left is Kingsley Somataya from BYU, former Oregon commit who transferred there after we unceremoniously fired Mario Cristobal. But even he should probably not start day one. The Raiders' offensive line as it stands today is Colton Miller, um, Andre James, the left guard we drafted out of Memphis, whose name escapes me at the moment, Dylan Parham would be that guy. Cody Whitehair and Thayer Munford. Now, is that a bottom 10 offensive line? I don't think so.
Wait a minute. It's just sinking in now. We had Cooper Dijon and Quinyon Mitchell right there as the 1 and 2 cornerbacks in this class, or at least I did, and they both went to Philly.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the Commanders just drafted freaking Jaden Daniels. You're going to need corners. I mean, the Giants got Malik Neighbors. You're going to need corners. The Dallas Cowboys throw the ball 14,000 times a game. You're going to need corners. I mean, loading up on secondary is not the worst thing the Eagles could do.
No, I'm just stunned that they got both of the two it guys.
Well, drafting players is
they both lasted
inefficiency here because you don't get both of those players outside of the top 20 unless something has gone terribly wrong, or you have a draft like this one where you have 14 offensive players in a row go at the top of the draft. And so you basically you pick of the litter whenever you want at the bottom half of the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been one of the craziest drafts I've ever seen. The best player went at number 13. The second best player went at number 4.
The Saints are taking Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Oh, good.
Who was another guy that I
another
liked.
guy I liked, and we mocked to the Raiders repeatedly in the second round. Who's left? Shoot. Yeah. Okay. Oh boy, Josh Dubois, Raiders legend, tweeted this: Saints trading up. Maybe Spencer Rattler. They could use an upgrade at quarterback. Are you fucking kidding me, Josh?
Wow.
Oh my god.
I hate him so much.
Not
friend of the show, Josh Dubois.
I respect the shade, but what a shithead thing to tweet. I mean, listen, I'm an asshole for a living, and I wouldn't tweet something like that.
I hate him. He got to the point where his Derek Carr hate was performative, not an informed take. It was just it was purely performative.
A bit, and he was committed to the bit, and I respect being committed to the bit, but at some point, stop being a dickhead and be a fucking journalist. You work for AP. I don't get that guy. I don't get it. I mean, unless he sees journalism as performance art like Lady Gaga sees music, then I don't understand. And if he does, well, I mean, there's a special place in hell for people like that. Derek Carr didn't deserve a lot of the
NFL really needs. No.
And the thing NFL is, Joshua never said anything. Joshua never tweeted anything that wasn't 100% true. He was tweeting statistics. It's just that you can use statistics to be a dick, and that's what he did.
Right. That's why I said it was not informed. It was performative, because all I did was slap back with statistics that showed that he was wrong. But I'm trying to find the NFL draft tracker online to get a list of picks and then also who's still available. And I'm coming up with nothing from NFL.com. Like,
go to
get your shit together.
ESPN probably has a better draft tracker.
Yeah. All right, Cooley McKinstry. We are 3 picks away from the Raiders' next pick, the number 44. And let me get best available. There we go.
At this point, I want Kingsley or Mike Sanders still.
Sanders still would be great.
Patrick Paul from Houston at tackle is another option I think they might look at. I think he's a guy that could start day one at right tackle.
Edgerrin Cooper.
Is he the next pick?
No. He's the guy that I want. God damn it. I shouldn't have said it.
I know. He's going to go right now. Why have you done this? The Texans are taking Edgerrin. I'm just kidding. Kamari Lassiter, cornerback from Georgia, is going to Houston. Are the Raiders on the clock? No. There's one more pick, right? This is 43 coming up, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So 44, the Raiders are drafting Spencer Rattler, quarterback, South Carolina.
What?
I'm just kidding. I don't know. 43 hasn't even been picked yet. Who is at 43? Is it the Falcons or the Falcons straight up? I forget.
I don't know.
Let's see here.
Because everything's so goddamn slow. Cardinals.
Okay.
Well, Cardinals.
Edgerrin Cooper seems like a Raider move at this point.
Texans take Kamari Lassiter.
Yeah.
Arizona. What is? Are they at need? Are they in need of a linebacker? Could Cooper still be there?
The Cardinals need goddamn everything. I wouldn't be surprised by picking anybody. I mean, there's no off limits here. The only position they won't pick is quarterback because they're paying Call of Duty boy way too much money.
I missed the pre-draft arguments in the comments section over at Silver and Black Pride with Hellsnake wanting Kyler Murray and wanting to run Derek Carr out of town.
I mean, that was a pipe dream the whole time. He was always going number one. That shouldn't even have been a discussion.
All right. Kamari Lassiter, I mean, he's good. Anytime you show up on the national championship stage and make memories for people, you're gonna do okay in the league.
Oh, the Raiders are on the clock. Who did the
Arizona? Max Melton. Ooh, Bo's brother.
Okay. I was thinking he might be a cornerback for the Raiders. There's not. He's like
that's almost a little mini run of cornerbacks.
Almost every prospect I had in my mind in the second round is gone.
Okay, can we do this? Can we turn off Albert Breer? Like, shut down your Twitter, and let's just watch the feed on TV and react.
Well, I would, except I cut cable years ago. I'm not watching it on TV. I have nothing but Twitter, so that's not an option for me. Okay,
do you want to shut it down and then I'll report it?
Absolutely, that's not a problem. I'd have to wait next to. Well, I mean, I have the picks on Twitter 5 minutes before everybody else, but I don't mind waiting.
That's what I'm saying. So do I. So I turned off Albert Breer, and we're gonna bring you live reaction 5 minutes after the fact. You know what? That's a dumb idea. Let's just go back to Albert Breer.
Okay.
I almost turned off the feed because it's just so ridiculous how the production takes a back seat to the actual news.
Well, I mean, my wife was asking me yesterday. She was like, "So, were you guessing the picks or were you reading the picks? I was like, no, I was on Twitter. I had the picks before anybody else had the picks. And she was like, isn't that cheating? I was like, listen, I don't give a shit about the TV show about the NFL draft. I care
Right.
who was picked and by whom. I don't want to mess around. I want to know
Right.
the facts. I don't
And
want to watch the show.
if we are reporting Albert Breer's feed to the viewer, our intrepid audience, and they are getting the pick before it shows up on TV, they can wow their friends and family by
Yeah.
predicting.
Yeah.
So we
You
are
look like a
providing a
genius.
service.
Just say whatever Albert Breer says, and they'll think you're a genius and a fortune teller like myself.
Yeah. I used to do that in the Silver and Black Pride comment section following Raiders beat on Twitter because he was in the war room and leaking stuff, and everybody was like, "How'd you know?" I think they're going to take this guy. Wow, you called it.
Well, the truth is, the picks are often like 20 to 30 minutes ahead of what you're seeing on TV, especially in the later rounds. So you can get guys and know who the pick is long before it ever shows up on anyone's TV. So
Right.
you can look really smart really quick.
That was first round, but all right. I'm just refresh.
The pick is not in yet. So the Raiders are on the clock. Vic Tifford just tweeted the Raiders on the clock after 4 straight DBs go. Now, if the Raiders really had a guy that they wanted, they could have moved up, even though Tom Telesco doesn't generally do that sort of thing. What this tells me is that Tom Telesco has a board and he's not deviating. He knows who he thinks is good, and it's like, screw it, whoever falls. And to me, that's what good teams do. Good teams scout well. Good teams are confident with their board, and good teams don't get scared. There's no FOMO with Tom Telesco. He's got a board, and he's going to stick to it. And I hope it works out.
Jackson Powers Johnson.
Oh, my God. I am a fucking genius.
There you go.
Hey, what did I say 5 minutes ago, sir?
Yes.
Listen, my gimmick is that I tell the future. That's what I do.
Right.
That's how I make money. You know,
that's why I need to shut up.
This just shows you that I'm the man. I'm the man.
We got our replacement for Andre James.
Well, we have the right guard because he can play any interior position. Oregon asked him to play center, and he was arguably the best center in the country. So right now, the Raiders not only got the best tight end, they also got the best center in this draft. It's rare for any one team to get the best player at 2 separate positions in the same draft, and the Raiders have just accomplished that. That's awesome. I love this guy. He is so ridiculously good. It's not even funny. He's so good. You know why Bo Nix was able to complete 77% of his passes? Because no one touched him. And why? Because Jackson Powers kept defensive tackles out of his ass. That's why. There are a lot of good defensive tackles in the Pac-12. None of them sniffed Bo Nix all season because of guys like this. The Raiders need more guys like this.
Build. Let's go. I like Tom Telesco more and more every day.
I want to point out that not only did Brock Bowers win the John Mackey Award 2 years in a row, something that has never been done before or since by anybody, he also was a finalist for the Top Offensive Lineman Award at least twice. So this essentially, the Raiders have not only drafted a tight end, but a slot receiver and also 2 offensive linemen in the first 2 rounds. That's some efficiency right there. That's good drafting.
All right, I'm about to get into it with a Steelers fan. He said,
Oh, they can read now?
yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
that's shocking.
he might have a family member reading to him. Raiders.
Okay.
Somebody said Raiders and Colts picks coming up. Steeler fan said maybe the Steelers can get Jackson Powers. I said nope. He said bastards should have drafted another tight end, trying to be clever. So I said we already have Mayer at tight end because Brock Bowers is a big slot.
Brock Bowers is a lot of things. Man, that is. I couldn't honestly. I really wanted the Raiders to take a cornerback, and I think they could still get one in round 3. But man, if they were going to go offensive line, you can't get a more day one starter, pro ready offensive lineman, plug and play guy than Jackson Powers Johnson. This guy is big, ugly, ready to go. I mean, it's fantastic. I couldn't be more happy with this.
Huh? Yeah.
And not only is this a top player on the board, also, a position of need, because this guy can play guard right now. He can switch to center if you need. Even though, as I've said before, Andre James is an Antonio Pierce guy. He's not going anywhere. But if in a pinch, Jackson Powers Johnson can play any interior position. I mean, he's extremely versatile. So the Raiders can get a tackle later. They can get a cornerback later. They can get a linebacker later. It's a long draft.
I like the idea of just keeping JPJ at center. He's got 50 pounds on Andre James. He's going to be much harder to move than Andre. I'm tired of watching Andre James get thrown.
Let's not forget Andre James, as good as a player as he's been, was an undrafted free agent in 2019.
Yeah, my problem with Andre James is not with Andre James as a person or as a player. My problem with Andre James is on the coaching staff that continues to employ him as the starting center.
Andre James has vastly overachieved, as much as any player in the NFL, considering his talent level and draft position, which wasn't drafted.
Andre James has he improved the last couple of years. He's better than he was a few years ago.
Has carved out a niche for himself and made himself an integral part of a team on the rise. But that only takes you so far when faced with superior talent, which Jackson Powers Johnson clearly is. Will Jackson Powers Johnson be the Raiders starting center in 3 years from now? I'm going to say yes. But I could be completely wrong about that. If the Raiders wanted to plug in Jackson at right guard for the next 10 years, that would make them very effective on the offensive line. That's fantastic.
Is he not too short? He's only 6'3" ish. Oh, and the Packers just paired Edgerrin Cooper with Quay Walker. Yeah. He's a Patrick Queen clone. He blitzes. He can drop back into coverage. I wanted him. He is an absolute stud.
A lot of Raider fans wanted him. I saw that a lot, but the Raiders as a franchise have shown they do not value linebacker highly. They do not have a linebacker under contract past next season. And they're going to have to reload that entirely very, very soon.
That ironically is a holdover from the Reggie McKenzie GM of the Packers days.
Yep.
Similar to don't draft a running back in the first round. Don't spend draft capital on linebackers because you can convert safeties, you can convert edge, like you can make people into linebackers that didn't start off as linebackers. And a lot of times that's actually ideal to do that. But I like Edgerrin Cooper a lot. I think he breaks the mold.
And JPJ, the Raiders have improved at guard almost as much as they improved at defensive tackle in this offseason. I mean, it's absolute night and day from Alex Bars and Greg Van Roten to what we have right now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to watch Van Roten ever again. Um, Carolina Panthers. Let's see if they go defense to help UC Davis legend Ajiro Evero, who was on my short list for Raiders head coach hopes if we didn't resign AP. Who did they pick? So yeah, just like really like trying to find the prototype um, for at the position.
Oh,
Center
the
6'3" and a
Panthers have
half.
taken the Panthers have taken Texas running back Jonathan Brooks at 46.
Did I call that?
I don't know.
I
You were
think I
so
did.
wise. Hardly possible.
I mean, I'm no Raider Damas.
Well, who is?
I can think of one person.
Well, listen.
You.
There are no men like me. There is only me. No one can do. You can't do what I do. No one can do what I mean, it's like Jack Black in Tropic Thunder. You can't do what I do. Only I can do what I do. You can't do this. Only I can do this.
I did. I did call it. I said Braylon Allen to Dallas, Audric Estime to Buffalo, Blake Corum to the Chargers, Will Shipley to the Raiders, and Jonathan Brooks to Carolina.
Well, a person who was not as good a friend as me would say, "Blind squirrel finds nut" or "broken clock is right." But I'm just going to say, congratulations for being correct.
Thank you.
It's been a very long time since I was as pleased with a Raider draft as I am right now. It's a strange feeling. The Raiders are going BPA as opposed to WPA, which is what I'm accustomed to.
Yeah.
The
All
Raiders
right.
have picked WPA on multiple occasions, and it's not a good feeling. I would say Damon Arnett might be WPA. I think Jamarcus Russell was WPA. I think Alex Leatherwood was WPA.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. All right. So prototypical offensive center, 6'3" and a half, 305 pounds, 5'17", 5.17 40. Jackson Powers Johnson is about 20 pounds heavier than the prototype.
Remember how effective the Raiders offense was when we had Rodney Hudson?
Yeah.
Remember how effective the Steelers
Yeah.
offense was with Mike Webster and with Dermontti Dawson?
And Pouncey.
And Pouncey. Remember how, until like a few weeks ago, how effective the Eagles have been with Jason Kelce. That's the kind of player Jackson Powers Johnson is. That's what the Raiders are getting. Not necessarily a generational center, but the best center in this draft, and a guy who's going to be plug and play offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman for the next decade, no problem.
Okay. According to the NFL.com website, Jackson Powers Johnson disappeared. Stop it. Did not up is pretty athletic.
Jackson Powers Johnson versus Christian Wilkins every day in training camp. That's also
Iron
Brock Bowers
sharpens
versus Max Crosby
iron.
every day in training camp. Because, I mean, from what I understand, Brock Bowers is an absolute animal and maniacal about practice in the way that Max Crosby is. Those two guys are going to go against each other every single day in camp and practice. If you can imagine Max Crosby getting better, he's going to get better. Getting chipped by Brock Bowers all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are not. Neither one of them is going to want to be the second hardest worker on the team.
Looking at the typical guard, yeah. Looking at the typical guard, 6'4", 314, JPJ is a little bit closer to that prototype size. Maybe a little bit short. Maybe he has long arms.
The Raiders did announce the pick as a guard, so I'm pretty sure that's where they're going to start him at. Yeah.
Okay, that's their plan then.
Well, listen, guard was an area of absolute need. I mean, Andre James, as we've established, is the guy for now at least. I mean, either Parham or Jackson can switch over there if necessary. But for right now, we've got our line is Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Andre James, Jackson Sparrows Johnson, and Thayer Munford. That's not terrible.
Yeah, I like Thayer Munford.
I think he can be. I mean, he's about as nimble as a glacier, but I think he can be, good in at least in, road grading rush offense. Still, if Tom Telesco has the good sense God gave a duck, he'll draft a project right tackle. There's no question.
All right, so my next target is Will Shipley. I need Will Shipley in silver and black.
My next target is Mike Sainer still, but I don't think he'll be there when the Raiders pick again. They would need to trade up.
I would like to explain my desire for Will Shipley. He's from Clemson. That means Raiders pipeline, and I'm just kidding.
We need violin music so you can talk about your desire.
Yeah. Thank you. No, he is Christian McCaffrey wrapped up in a third-round pick. He is Jahmyr Gibbs without the draft capital. The Raiders take him. He takes over for Amir Abdullah. He is the third down back. If anything happens to Zamir, Will Shipley can step in and be the guy. He's big enough to do that as an NFL running back, but he doesn't necessarily need to be. And it can be a sneaky Austin Eckler type move for Telesco.
Man, Troy Franklin is still on the board, isn't he? That's wild.
Well, the big time wide receivers are gone. The quote big time wide receivers are gone. Now people are team building, and he's going to be a second or third round pick that is going to outplay his draft position.
The Giants, the Bengals have taken Michigan defensive tackle Chris Jenkins, and the Giants have taken Tyler Nubin. Is that the guy's name? Yeah, Minnesota safety Tyler Nubin.
Nubbins.
Oh shoot! And the Jaguars took Mason Smith from LSU.
Yeah,
that was another guy I wanted, but I'm very happy with Jackson.
Well, you should have said something 20 minutes ago.
I know.
And then we would have.
Listen, the Raiders are fine at defensive tackle. They were not fine at guard. Now they are.
And yeah, the broadcast is still a good pick behind. That probably won't change.
What pick do the Raiders have in the third round?
That's a great question, Tyler. and what I just did didn't do me any good. So that's fun. I clicked on the Raiders icon in the ESPN draft room thing, and it just gave me a rundown of Jackson Powers Johnson. 77.
77. Okay, that's not that far away.
I mean, it's literally a whole round away.
Yeah. Well, do you want to? I got some stuff to take care of, so I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to stay. Are we gonna? We should do another show tomorrow night to recap everything, or do you want to do something during the day? Because it's going to be like 9 in the morning for you, 10 in the morning for me when it starts up again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down to go on as soon as it starts. So
Okay. All right. Well, let's do a show tomorrow before. Yeah, because if we're on it at 9 your time, 10 my time, we can recap whoever the Raiders take in round 3, and then get right into it because the picks are going to come fast and furious for sure.
yes, and I'll be there for it.
All right, I will absolutely be there for it as well.
Who are we taking in the third round, Tyler? Call it now.
I'm hoping Mike Sainristil still cornerback, Michigan. I'm just not sure he'll be there. If not, Kingsley Suamataia, right tackle from BYU.
You're supposed to say my guy.
Well, you have a lot of guys. I don't know who your guy is. I'm telling you who my guys are because I'm the one who got the pick right.
Right.
Did you say Jackson Powers Johnson? You did not. I did.
I did not. I did say I did say Jonathan Brooks to Carolina on
you did, but that's not our team.
Forecast.
It says Raiders. It doesn't say Panthers. It says Raiders. Yours says Bacon for some. I'm not sure what team that is.
It's the the something Valley Iron Pigs, Philadelphia.
Oh, Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs.
Lehigh Valley.
Philadelphia Phillies affiliate. How do I know that? I don't know. I'm a sick person. Help me.
Right. I'm the one that bought the hat because it's bacon.
You did. Lehigh Valley. No, I know who they are. I don't know why. No, I do know why I know who they are because in MLB The Show, if you do Road to the Show and take your guy through the minors, if you play for the Phillies, you're going to play for Lehigh Valley. I had a guy who was playing for the Red Sox a couple of years ago on my Road to the Show, and he played Lehigh Valley all the time. That's how I know that. I'm a sick person. Help me.
You are a sick person. I'm also a sick person. Chris Jenkins is a sick person. He's powerful, shows effort, but he's had limited production.
Well, that sounds like a Raider to me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, Big. So I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. You have a good night. Don't drink too much.
I'm drinking pineapple juice.
All right, fantastic. I have some orange soda. I think I'm going to get down my gullet. So, all right, you take care. I'll be around. You know how to find me.
Thanks for coming on, Tyler, and I will see you in the morning.
All right, bye-bye.
See ya. All right, and then there were one. What was one? There was me. I have sent out. I've litten the bat signal. I am waiting on some co-host or summit, and if I get one, I'll stay here with you. If I don't, I'm gonna bow out, take my dog out and stuff, because we're a while from the Raiders pick, and I'll jump back on for the Raiders pick. But we shall see. So real quick rundown of this second round, and it's going to take me a second to get there. Oh, and Mike Sainristil just went to the Commanders right as Tyler was leaving, so we didn't get to see him tilt, which would have been fun. Go to the trade tracker real quick. I don't want that. That's not what I wanted. Here we go. This is what I wanted. All right, so Keon Coleman, wide receiver to the Bills. Lad McConkey, Chargers ripping my heart out. Rook Orororo from Clemson, defensive tackle to Atlanta. Jerzen Newton from Illinois to the Commanders. Jalen Polk, a little overrated. I like Jalen McMillan better. Jalen McMillan really should have been the pick there for the Patriots, not Jalen Polk. Devondre Sweat, defensive tackle to the Titans. Braden Fisk, another heart ripper. He goes to the Rams. Cooper DeJean. Can I get a ruling on the pronunciation? The name is French. It's Dijon, not Dijon like the mustard. It's Dijon, but people say DeJean. I don't know. Cooper DeJean to the Eagles. Cooper DeJean, some people had him as high as the number 1 cornerback in this draft. And me personally, I had Quinyon Mitchell, but the Eagles got both of them. Fly, Eagles, fly. Shout out Travis Seal and Vi Salas and all the other guys from the Undroppables, Eagles. Michael Duncan, I think. I could be wrong. There's a bunch of Brad is also an Eagles fan. Yeah, Vi Salas, Michael Duncan, and Brad and Travis. Congratulations, you guys. And Jax Falcone is funny. I said, anybody want to jump in the stream? He said, jump in a river? Sure. I shan't respond. All right, back to it. Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback, goes from Alabama, goes to the Saints. Kamari Lassiter, cornerback from Georgia, goes to the Texans. Max Melton, cornerback from Rutgers. That was a 4-cornerback run. He goes to Arizona. And then the Raiders come in, scoop up an offensive lineman, Jackson Powers Johnson, listed as a center. Apparently their plan for him is to put him at guard. I'm okay with that. He's a little bit big for a center. But I still would prefer him over Andre James. So maybe they can do something about that. Edgerrin Cooper to the Packers. Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper that's going to be a force in the linebacker core. Jonathan Brooks from Texas, running back to Carolina. Tyler Nubin to the New York Giants. Mason Smith to LSU. Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle from Michigan to the Bengals. And Mike Sanderstill, favorite of Raider Damas. We mocked him a bunch of times to the Raiders throughout the offseason. And he goes to the Commanders. So, looking real quickly at the best available players, they still list at A.D. Mitchell, Ennis Rakestraw. Let's see, Braswell, Benson, Hicks, Jatavian Sanders. Troy Franklin is 24th on that list. And basically what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at Malachi Corley, Jalen Wright, Spencer Rattler, Johnny Wilson. I am scrolling through this list, and according to the ESPN BPA chart, Will Shipley is the 119th BPA. which that puts him out of day 2. That makes him an even better value. And I'm here for it. Maybe the Raiders can get him in the 4th round. But I want Will Shipley on the Raiders. I think he would be a perfect fit. I'm going to call it. I'm going to take my dog out. We will be back at 10 a.m. Pacific time in the morning tomorrow. I will be here with Raider Damas. We will at least give you some Raiders reaction, but we'll talk a whole lot of other shit. Thank you for everybody watching, especially Get Shrek Bra. You really made that comment section live. For any of you who are still watching, what's up, everybody? Biggs from the Undroppables here to tell you a little bit about Underdog Fantasy. Now, the 2023 NFL season is over, but fantasy football season never stops. You can already draft for the 2024 season over on Underdog Fantasy. It's the easiest place to play fantasy football. The Big Board is a pre-NFL draft fantasy football contest with all of the incoming rookies in the players pool. All of them. You draft your team in 20 rounds, and that's it. You set it and forget it. There's no lineup management. In Best Ball, you get the optimal score to fill your starting lineup. It's a great way to get your Dynasty Startup draft fix without any league management whatsoever. It's only $10 to enter, and there's over $2 million in prizes that are up for grabs. How much of that $2 million do you want? Now go over to Underdog Fantasy and be sure to sign up with the code UNDROPPABLE. It's right down there. You'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. You put in $100 and you start with $200. Download the app today, get started, and I hope you win. Who was that handsome young fella? All right. On behalf of everybody at the Undroppables, thanks.